It's time to see Coraline experience the other garden, and there are some oddities in this scene that I hadn't noticed before. Let's talk about it. Hey friends and family members, I'm Megan, this is the Fangirl, and we have a really cool scene of Coraline to dissect today. The other father in the magical garden. But you guys know the drill by now. I'm gonna pause for a second and give some love to the comment section. First, Denise Jeffries 2675, who is a long-standing regular here and I think she's awesome, says that she looked through the book for a section about fog, and there is one. She mentions that before going to see the ladies, there is no mention of fog. But when Coraline leaves their apartment, the book says this, and I assume that this is a direct quote: "The mist hung like blindness around the house. She walked away slowly to the stairs up to her family's flat, and then stopped and looked around. In the mist, it was a ghost world." In danger? Thought Coraline to herself. It sounded exciting. It didn't sound like a bad thing. Not really. So, okay, the book is giving us commentary like the fog is kind of shrouding something. And we get some insight into Coraline's head where she's so bored that she's being childish about the idea of danger. And granted, Coraline is a kid, and kids don't typically think in terms of, hey, if I do this stupid thing, I might impair my longevity. So, I mean, that tracks in a fair way. Then Rat Lady 10101 left a comment that caught my eye because it semi-connects here. She says, "I think you overestimate Coraline's maturity a lot because she's only 11. It seems like you analyze her intentions as if she were much older." And that's fair. She is 11. Her brain is not fully matured yet, which means she does not think things through to see around the corner at the problems ahead. And so Coraline ends up thinking in that self-absorbed way that most children do, where they will go and seek stimuli impulsively and not really care about the consequences. That doesn't make Coraline bad, but her self-preservation skills are definitely lagging in my opinion. I mean, by age 11, you should not be going off with strangers who just walk up to your porch and promise to give you candy if you get in their van. And that's essentially what Coraline is doing here. She sincerely is lacking all stranger danger, and she would rather take major risks rather than choose boring safety. And even though that can be kid accurate, it's also very frustrating as a viewer to watch the main character make bad choices, or to have them see the danger as a positive, exciting thing. But without that danger, there'd be no movie, so it is what it is. Okay, into this week's scene. Last time, Coraline came to the other world for the second time, and we talked about how the other mother essentially reset Coraline's brain and tries to keep her moving from one location to the next. That keeps Coraline from processing anything and asking any questions. So Coraline gets to go find the other father outside in her neat pajamas with no shoes, which I'm certain her real parents would never let her do. And oh, there are somebody's shoes at the front porch. I assume they have to belong to the other father because they look really big, but why? And those look like house slippers, but they definitely aren't his fun shoes from the study. That is such a weird detail with no payoff. Someone had to make those shoes. There has to be some reason that they're visible. And we don't get a great look at the other father's feet later, but it does look like he's wearing normal shoes. So who do these belong to? What are they for? Why are they outside? Anyways, we get that first garden shot with the moon rising and the red trees unwinding. Oh, it's glorious. However, the garden still looks pretty gray aside from those trees. Also, that moon is, as best as I can tell, a half moon, which symbolically relates to life and death. And that's perfect, both because of the garden blooming and for the looming danger to Coraline. And as Coraline steps through the garden gate, more of the surroundings are colorizing and springing to life just for her. Coraline is the catalyst. She is the special one in this place. And we have golden hummingbirds and button-eyed frogs. It's hard to see, but the hummingbirds appear to have buttons as well, but I can't guarantee it. They're so tiny. But look how elated Coraline is. She is absolutely enchanted. And all of these plants light up internally too. It's like we're visually being told that, hey, it's safe here. It's nice here. It's warm here. Plus, it is so nostalgic for my own childhood to see these beautiful bleeding hearts. But the garden is coming alive anywhere that's in Coraline's path. Although the golden hummingbirds do seem to be prompting a lot of these plants to kind of wake up and bring their A game as well. Or at least it does until we pass our gaze to the other father, who is out there riding a robotic praying mantis that looks just like the one Coraline had in her room, holding up the picture of her friends. The mantis has some kind of watering can booty, but we see these dark blue flowers sprouting everywhere, even in the places that the water isn't hitting. So it's like flowers are blooming for the other father, similar to how they bloom around Coraline's presence, which subconsciously is going to be telling Coraline, oh hey, I have such good vibes that these flowers sprout to life, so the other father must have the same kind of good vibes. Otherwise the flowers wouldn't be interacting with him. There is so much psychological overwhelm that's happening here because of this garden. Then we have the snapdragons that rise up and knock Coraline down in a tickle fit, which Coraline does not seem to mind at all, even though most tweens are very particular about not having their bodies touched. In fact, having the snapdragons tickle all over Coraline's body is almost cringy. Like, it borders on being inappropriate for her age and almost violating. Although these snapdragons are where things feel a little more curious to me in general. Birds moving around, frogs moving around, a robotic bug. I'm following the logic in all of that, but flowers don't move as independent sentient beings, and these snapdragons are trying to play with Coraline. No other flower seems to have that same level of movement. Also, oh my gosh, they have actual eyes, not even button eyes. These things could be alive. And I mean more so than a normal plant is already alive. But all the same, that makes the other father breaking off a glowing bud and blowing in it like a horn a little confusing and, well, kind of murderous. Like, are the plants alive or not? And yes, while the OF is bugling, we do get a better example of how the praying mantis passing by seems to activate the plants. And that watering can is not really doing anything, because the mantis goes over the bridge and we see all these water lilies blossoming, and these two giant carved jack-o'-lanterns pop out of the little pond, and they look so cute and happy. I love them. But then the other father makes it to Coraline on his white praying mantis robot. There's kind of this weird riding in on your white horse analogy going on, and the robot chops down all of these sentient snapdragons, turning them into a bouquet. Like, really? I'm not the only one that feels uneasy about this, am I? Even Coraline is looking at the cut stems like, did you really just end their lives for tickling me? I mean, even though the snapdragons are still somewhat moving, it's a lot more limited of a movement, and they're going to slowly die now that they don't have their root system anymore. I know, this is not a major detail, but it's one of those things that subtly unnerve me. What else is the other father capable of if he can just hit a button and chop down all of these living plants without any kind of second thought? I'm sorry, I'm gonna try to drop the snapdragons and move on. So Coraline informs the other father that it's time to eat, but instead of hopping to the other mother's orders, as Coraline's real dad may have done with her mom, the OF plucks up Coraline and places her on the back back of the Mantis, telling her that he has something to show her first. And with the pull of a crank, a propeller comes out of the robot and they fly effortlessly upward, which gives us the first official reveal that the garden has been arranged to look like Coraline's face. And I love that the jack-o'-lanterns are her eyes because they're already smiling. So it looks like Garden Coraline has smiles, smiling eyes, which is also going to psychologically implant itself in Coraline's mind. Oh, look, here's an image of myself and it's happy, so I must be happy too. Again, all of this prettiness and happiness is to implant the notion in Coraline's brain that she is her happiest in the other world, which isn't untrue at all, really. Coraline has looked so happy this entire time, and the only other moment where we've seen her this excited was when the photograph of her friends were talking to her. So yeah, compared to the real world, the garden is the greatest thing Coraline has ever seen. Then we dissolve into the kitchen where Coraline has strawberry pancakes. The other father has essentially everything else that's left. I guess he really was as hungry as a pumpkin. And the other mother has the bouquet of snapdragons and she's feeding them. And the snapdragons are in a vase on the table, but the other mother's personal plate is empty. We never see her eat food the way that the other father or Coraline does. And the other mother is telling Coraline that Bobinsky wants her to come see his jumping mouse circus after dinner, and she's there feeding the snapdragons sausage. That just seems like a strange touch. Why would the flowers eat meat? Does that mean they would have eventually consumed Coraline? Did the other father rescue her from monster flowers? And will these flowers be able to survive long term after being cut like that? I know we never see them again after this scene, but I am so hyperfixated on these snapdragons. But in regards to the jumping mouse circus, Coraline makes a comment about Wybie not thinking it was real and how Coraline knew he was wrong. And the other father takes that opening to chime in with, well, everything's right in this world, kiddo, as the other mother offers to clean up the kitchen so Coraline can go have fun. The other parents are taking every opportunity to reinforce that the other world is the place that Coraline wants to be. Also, that moon is different. I don't know moon terminology well, but it's gone from roughly a half moon just a few moments ago in the garden to now being a waxing crescent moon, which represents a first step towards manifesting your desires. So you're making your move to get results. And that's exactly what the other mother is doing by showing Coraline these wonders and giving her good tasting foods and saying how their world is good, but the real world is bad. The other mother's shooting her shot right now. It's also important to note that the moon changes over roughly a month-long period. So we should not have gone from a half moon to any kind of crescent shape in the same night. And that could represent that time is passing in the other world much more quickly than Coraline realizes. Anyways, the other mother then hints at Coraline having a friend to go to the mouse circus with her, and the other mother opens the door and we see other Wybie for the first time. And Coraline is less than pleased to see him. Really though, if you're going to make a puppet person to hang out with Coraline, why wouldn't you pick one or both of the kids from the photograph that Coraline was so excited about? Why would you pick the one kid that Coraline doesn't seem to like? And I've done theories about that before, so I have thoughts on the matter, but nothing I can prove. However, when other Wybie doesn't speak to Coraline saying like, hello, the other mother informs Coraline that she fixed him and Wybie cannot speak in this world. And this is done with the understanding that that would make other Wybie a more ideal version of Wybie for Coraline to interact with. So of course Coraline approves. But this whole idea of the other mother taking credit for, quote, fixing Wybie is her low-key bragging about her abilities. The other mother is letting Coraline know that she can control whatever she wants, And so, as someone on Coraline's side, as her other mother, Coraline can have all of her dreams come true, even if they impact other people. Not to mention, other Wybie is not extremely different from real Wybie, but his hair is so much cleaner and well kept. It doesn't look matted down anywhere. There's no leaves or branches stuck in it. This is a kid from a home that cares about his hygiene. And finally, the other mother shoos the kids out of the house, which is the end of our scene this time. Next time is the Mouse Circus, but I'd really love to know in the comments if you guys are as confounded by the Snapdragons as I am. I can't stop thinking about them. Help! I might definitely be overthinking it, but that's literally my job. And to any of my members here on YouTube, a huge bottom of my heart thank you for all of your help and support. If you would like to become a paid channel member, there is a link in the description below. Thanks again, guys. Love you. Well, family members, we're almost done, but I want to invite you to hang out with me in some other places. I'm on Twitter and Instagram as my own personal self, and I have a Facebook page too, but I mostly just post photos over there. And sometimes people say, "Hey McGann, I want to mail you something. How do I do that?" Easy. Just click the About tab on my channel page, and my most current P.O. Box info will be right there. I also run another channel, The Fanily. It's really a hodgepodge channel where we might post anything. Oh yeah, and I also sell shirts and stickers and stuff with the Fanily and the Fangirl logos. If that is your cup of tea, I have a link in every description of every video. Finally, if you want to help out the Fangirl channel and make sure I'm putting out video essays for years to come, the best way you can help is by subscribing and watching more of my videos, whether they're new, old, whatever. Maybe even share one or two on social media, help spread the word. People who watch to the end of videos, like you, helps to tell the site, hey, this is a good video, we should recommend it to other people. So if you made it this far, leave me a comment of something like, hey, I made it to the end. Love ya. See you next time, family members. Bye.